Okay,
We're
starting
starting
a new live. So
So now you see the green
Yeah.
the green dots. That means the microphone's working.
thank you, Anthony. We got one person in. Is my volume on?
One person in.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Is my volume on?
You're good.
Is that you?
It was me.
No, a second person's come in.
My mom.
I don't know if that's mom or who it is. No, it's Steve from the garden. Hi, Steve. My computer was goofing up here and I didn't have any volume before, so we had about 6 or 7 people and then we had to go off. So, but okay, Heritage Homestead is here. Cat Without a Hat, hello. Finally got this thing figured out. Apparently I had the camera microphone shut off. So we're back to getting going here. So Steve, have you got quite a bit in the garden yet?
I'll see you in the morning.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Everybody say thank you, Anthony, for fixing the computer. Well, what I wanted to talk about today, and I'll just go ahead and get started as people are coming in here. I wanted to talk about, Steve, you can't plant this weekend. It's going to rain. No, I don't think it will. But we're going to talk about hardening off plants so that they're ready to transfer from an indoor location to an outdoor location. And this is a big reason why a lot of people will get frustrated in their gardening, because that transition is a big shock for the plants. And I'll try to tell you why a little bit anyway. There's a couple of things. One, if you pull the plant out of its root pot, you're exposing some of the roots. And when you transfer it, plant it into the ground, those roots, some of them aren't going to make it because they're very delicate. And some of those root hairs were actually pinched between the side of the container and the plant itself, or the dirt. So the way to prepare for that is to try to put your seed in the center of each seed pod. That way you're only harming those very extension hairs. But then there's hardening off. You have to harden off your plants. And if you read any of the books on hardening off, or if you watch most of the videos on hardening off, are going to tell you that you need to put the plants outside for a couple hours one day, bring them back in, take them out the next day for 4 hours, bring them back in, take them out again for maybe 6 hours. And well, this goes up to a week, and then you start leaving them out overnight. Well, I'm sure in certain climates that's probably important. Where I'm at, I don't really worry about that too much. So the issues are, it's the amount of sun that the plant receives, it's the heat that the plant has, and then it's the moisture that the plant can contain. Now we're talking about when we bring a flat or a potted plant and we bring it from the inside to the outside, it's going to get more intense light. It's going to get more, or it's going to get colder, more extreme weather, and it's going to get wind. Now, there are some myths going about that putting the plants outside makes them stronger in terms of being able to combat the wind, and that's not really the case. The plants will, through hydraulic pressure, they'll build up the pressure. There's a name for that, and I can't think of it right now. But they'll build up pressure within the plant, and that'll make the plant stand up. So just recently, I had some sunflowers, had them down in under my grow lights, and for whatever reason, I missed them, didn't water them properly. Farm and HVAC, welcome. And let's see, anybody else that's come in here? I think Heritage Heart Homestead, I think I said hi to you, but I might have said hi to you on the other feed, so I'll say hi again. The stem or that shoot will actually build up hydraulic pressure, and that's how it combats against the wind. Now there are some parenchyma cells that'll start to reproduce along the outer portion of that stem as well that will help battle against the wind, but the plants really build that up whether there's wind or not. So the issue of the wind is that the wind is going to evaporate a lot of water out of the ground. So you want to begin to harden off the plants, mostly against the intense sunlight, mostly against the temperature, the heat, and then at night it gets cold. So what I generally do is I'll put my plants out during the day, and then I'll put them back into the hoop house at night. Now, right now we're dealing with 40-degree weather. I don't think it's going to be too bad. If we were looking at getting a frost, I'd be bringing all my peppers and tomatoes back into the house. Brassicas can pretty much handle the cold weather. Lettuces do okay in the cold weather. But peppers and tomatoes and a lot of your flowers, they're not going to manage. Think about anything that's going to fade out in the fall before the frost comes. You don't want those plants out. So you'll have to either bring them into a hoop house that stays above, say, 40, or certainly above 32, but I don't like to get that close. But by what I do is when I take the plants out of the house, I put them directly outside on a fairly calm day. You don't want a lot of wind just because you'll dry the plants out. But I give them a really good watering when I first put them out into the field or into the sunlight. Now I have a snowmobile trailer. It's a 2-place snowmobile trailer, and I lay all my plants out on that. And then there's a little porch on my portable hoop house that I can set plants on as well. So if I have additional plants, I'll just set them right on the ground. It doesn't really matter. But you want to water them well. And that way, if the plants are sitting outside for their very first time and they start to evaporate, they don't run out of water. Because the water, as I said earlier, is the one thing that allows them to, they suck up the water into the stems, and that's what gives them rigidity. So the wind causes the plants to aspire more and to respirate more, and so that sucks water up into the plant, and that helps give rigidity to the stem. The other thing that is happening in the plant is that the cuticle of the plant is getting thicker. Now, the cuticle is the layer on the leaf. It's kind of a waxy layer on the leaf. And if you use any kind of herbicide like 2,4-D, or if you use glyphosate even, they will remove the cuticle off of that plant. In fact, when you pour boiling water on a weed to kill it, what you're really doing is you're tearing that cuticle, you're destroying the cuticle, and then the plant perspires more, respires more, and so you're sucking up a lot of water, and it's just going out in the atmosphere. Hello, Country Homestead Preacher, welcome. Jesus is Lord, welcome. And I understand, Donnie, if you got to go, I appreciate you stopping by. Homestead Aquarius, welcome. Yes, we have sound now. Vineyard Chicks, good to have you here. Good to have you here. Hey, before I keep going here, and I'll mention this again, we are going to be having from May 30th until June 7th, I believe it is, we're going to be having Godfest on YouTube. And so Homestead preacher, or Country Homestead preacher, and several other pastors, I am going to forget them all, so I'm not going to even try, but several other pastors are going to be taking turns, and we're going to be preaching in the evenings over at Country Homestead preacher. Could you put his, if you're still here, could you put the name there? I think it's At the Cross. I'll have more information for you next week, but I will be preaching on Saturday night. So exciting times. Cajun Hydroponics, welcome to the live. And so getting back, when you start to put your plants out, the sun is intense and that cuticle will begin to build up, that waxy buildup on the leaf. It's already there, but it's going to get thicker, and it will get thicker to adapt to the amount of sunlight that you have. So the first day you put your plants out, put them out in a shady area. And maybe don't leave them out for all day. I did. I put my peppers out today to start hardening them off. And some of my tomatoes I put out today to start hardening them off. Okay, Country Homestead Preacher, Believe on the Cross is the channel that we'll be preaching on. And there will be updates. I will do a whole video talking about when that's going to be. Those of you who know Country Homestead Preacher, he's got a good commercial on his live as well. So I put my plants out today. I put them out in direct sunlight. We had an overcast day today. It was rather cool. So I really didn't worry about it, and everything was fine. So tomorrow what I'll do is I'll just leave them in the hoop house. I won't even put them outside. I'm going to give them a day of recovery where they're in the hoop house. They get the plastic on the hoop house is about 70% clear, so they'll get a little bit of relief from the shade. I've got a fan that runs on that hoop house, so it'll stay cool in there for them, or cool, not, it'll be warm, but it won't be terribly hot for them. So then on my third day, which will be Saturday, I'll put them out in the sun again, but ideally I would put them right in the area where I was going to plant them, so that they're getting the same conditions, they're getting the same amount of sunlight. And it isn't essential that you put them out first thing in the morning, but it would be really a great idea to get them out there in the cool of the early morning sun, because they'll start building that cuticle up right away, and all day long they'll be building that cuticle. By the end of the day of recovery in the hoop house, they should be able to handle pretty much a full day of sun. Plants that you might be concerned about if you're going to transplant them, if you've got things like melons, watermelons, honeydews, any kind of melon, or even pickles for that matter, cucumbers. They've got a pretty large leaf, and so you may want to bring them back in a little bit sooner. Keep an eye on them. If the leaves start to get yellowed or brown on the outside, get them watered, get them back into some shade. But then once you've done that, make sure that you start to let them dry out a little bit. And what I mean is, I usually plant right into the field the fourth or fifth day or sometime thereafter. And so what I like to do is I like to let the plants dry out for one day. Now you've got to be careful. If it's really hot, you can't let them completely dry out. But I like to let them get a little bit dry. They pull out of the cells better because the dirt will shrink away from the cell, and you're not going to disturb the roots quite as bad if you've let them dry out. It also creates a situation where the plant wants to search for water. So as soon as you plant them out in the field, get water on them right away. I have not been videoing a lot of my planting videos or planting this year, mostly because I have limited resources in terms of help. It takes 3 people to run the planter. So when I have 3 people, I don't take a lot of time with the camera. Vineyard Chicks asks, what nightly lows do you want to stay above for tomatoes, peppers, squash? I don't like to put peppers and squash out if the temperatures are going to be below 45, having them outside. Now, they're going to make it if it drops below 45, they're going to make it. But if I'm bringing transplants out and I want to get them planted in the field, I don't want to see it get below 45. If it does get to 40, they'll be fine. But I plant it on the safe side and then we'll put them out. Now, I have a friend, they plant 12.5 acres of vegetables. And so I went by their place a couple of weeks ago and they had all of their brassicas right out on the hay wagon. And even through that frost, they just backed the hay wagon into the barn. The barn is unheated, but it gives it enough safety that they won't come out. Steve says he's been hardening his plants off for the last 3 weeks. And, you know, you can harden your plants off for a long, long time. My problem is that I don't want to be bringing things in and out. I've just got too many flats to be bringing them in and out. And so once, you know, Steve says once the weather's above 45, everything can stay out. Once my plants have been outside for 3 days or one day out, one day in the hoop house, one day out, then the next day out, then they can pretty much stay out overnight as far as I'm concerned, because that cuticle on the leaf and on the petiole and on the stem, all of those have that cuticle that builds up. And the shoots or the stem portions, they build up the cuticle, and some, like tomatoes, you'll see like a brown, I don't want to call it a skin, but I guess that's what it is. It's that begins to form, or a darker, maybe a golden color, lighter green even. That's parenchyma cells. That's dead cell tissue that gets pushed out to the outside to give rigidity to the plant, but also to create kind of a thermal insulation a little bit. And that's how trees, they develop bark. So when you're hardening off, you're mostly trying to create that cuticle. So if you harden off your plants and then you bring them back inside for 4 or 5 days, they'll probably be okay, but you want to start that process over again anyway, just to be certain, and to make sure that you're not putting your plants at great risk. So I'm going to share, I'm not going to, well, we're already 7:30. I'm going to do this a little bit quickly. We talk about being prepared. This has got nothing to do with hardening off plants. Mama Goose is going into the kitchen. That means my dinner is going to start to be prepared. Maybe. She just gave me a dirty look, so maybe not. We talk about being prepared, and we talk about having enough food to survive if something goes wrong. And we talk about being prepared with lights and being prepared with all of the different things that we might need. But I want you to stop and think for a moment about how are you preparing in terms of your education? How well prepared are you? Do you know how to start a fire? and I'm not being facetious, I'm being honest. Do you know how you would plant enough crops to survive? You don't have to have quite as much as I do, but I think a family of four, you'd be hard pressed to feed a family of four off of an acre. So you're going to need more than what you think. I think it was one of the Canadian channels, and I'm trying to think of which one it was. They did a live, I think, where they talked about how much food you'd need to put away so that you'd make it 6 months. And it was tons of food, a lot of food. Teresa Abner, welcome to the live. I appreciate you coming by. Just saw you there. If you've been here for a while, I didn't see you. My Aussie Garden, welcome to the live. I get moving here. Pafford Homestead, welcome to the live. So you need to educate yourself. You need to know how to go about getting the things you're going to need if trouble comes. But more importantly than any of that, take some time over the next few weeks, if you haven't done it, take some time to read and study, read and understand the Gospel of John. Just the Gospel of John. I'm not telling you to read the whole Bible, but if you understand the Gospel of John, you know, John 3:16 says, and this used to be the most popular verse in the Bible. Now I think it's Romans 5:10, judge not lest ye be judged. But it used to be John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And John 3:17 is similar to it, but it says something that a lot of people don't expect. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So that's all I'm going to say about that today. There are difficult times coming. You need to be prepared, but you also need to be spiritually prepared for the things that are going to happen, because I don't know if the grocery stores will run out of food. I know if you're living on the East Coast, gasoline is in short supply, and it doesn't sound like anybody's going to do anything about it very soon. So keep those people out on the East Coast in your prayers. I don't think John's in the chat tonight. If he's Gil lurking, well, then he'll see it. But so that concludes sort of my prepared portion. If anyone has, Steve is saying the pipeline started flowing again today. That's excellent. Thank you for that, Steve. I've been out in the garden all day. We're putting drip line down, and I planted sweet corn. I haven't planted sweet corn in probably 14 years, but Shed Wars has got me thinking about planting sweet corn. Someone in the live last week or the week before asked a question about sweet corn, and so I figure I'll grow some sweet corn and maybe do some tutorials on it. It's not something I'm expert at, but we've done it. We'll do it again. Bittner Farm. Yeah, there is a lot to fear out there. We shouldn't be fearful, but we should be prepared. But there's a lot to fear. So I'm just reading some of the chat here to see. Garden State Gardening. Yeah, we had some problems, failure to launch, but we're here now. Vineyard Chicks says, we tried a couple of rows of corn last year, but it became bird feed. Do you have grackles? Yes, we have grackles. I'm not going to tell you what we do to grackles when they come on the farm. Grackles and the cowbirds are, they don't get to stick around. So yeah, Homestead Aquarius posted here that Jason Avers put a video up about nutrition and calories for the family garden. So he's got the link there. Don't hit it now, but if you want to copy that link down or come back later and hit that link, that is not the one that I was thinking of, but I'm sure that Jason did a copious job of it. He does good work, and he's got a lot of good research and got a lot of good knowledge. So getting back to corn, one of the things that you have to do, and it's probably different in different situations, but we have something that's called the corn borer beetle. Hello, Gail. Welcome back. I saw you had been here before, and we have something here called the corn borer beetle, and you have to deal with it on a fairly regular basis. I was talking to one of the local market farmers who raises sweet corn and asparagus, and he says he sprays every 2 to 3 weeks, depending upon the rain, for the corn borer beetle. And what the corn borer beetle will do is it'll come in the silks of the corn, and it'll eat every kernel of corn before the kernels are even formed. And so what you'll end up with is a cob perfectly wrapped in corn husk. And I gave a bunch of these away. We grew a bunch one year, and I picked some, and they were fantastic. They were kerneled out all the way to the end, maybe a half an inch that didn't get kerneled out completely. And I gave away probably 5 or 6 dozen ears of corn. And one of the ladies that I gave corn to said, "John, I hate to tell you this, but there wasn't a single piece of corn on any of the corn you gave us." And so, yep, I was embarrassed. That was the last time I grew corn for a while. But this year we're going to spray for it. I don't know if you're doing organic corn. I know you can put bags over the ears and that helps, but then you've got to hand pollinate, and that's pretty tough. I planted 4 rows. They're about 60 feet long, and they're a little far apart. They're about 30 inches apart, but I need that so I can get in and cultivate. So what else is going on? This weekend, hopefully, if I can get to it, I have a pretty full day of work tomorrow, so I won't be in the garden until evening if I do get there. But I've got squash seeds that have to go down, and I'm probably going to plant some I'm going to plant some okra. Couldn't think of it. I'm going to probably try to plant some okra seeds, see if they come up. The ground is fairly warm. I didn't put a thermometer in it today, but it's warm to the touch, so I think the okra might make it. We're not supposed to have any weather below 45 for this week, at least that I can see. So I planted my corn fairly close together, about every 3 inches, and then I will take, once the cotyledons come up and they're fairly starting to form their true leaves, then I will take a hoe and I will clean out everything but leave about 6 inches apart. Otherwise, you're not going to get enough nutrient into the corn. Corn's a fairly heavy feeder, needs a lot of nitrogen. So I put it over near my onions. So when I put fertilizer down on my onions, I'll put fertilizer down on the corn. I did put it on drip tape. I've never done that with corn before, but we'll see how that goes. Steve is saying that the weather is turning a corner for us. It is. It's been every year we say, oh, this is a strange spring or this is a strange summer or whatever. This year has been kind of strange. We came out of a mild winter. We've had a very dry spring, and we haven't really warmed up. We've had a few warm days, but we really haven't had much heat. Today I don't think it got into the 70s today. I was out in it. I was dressed like this. I've got t-shirt and a flannel on. It wasn't cold, but it wasn't hot. Pafford Holmes says he's going to plant some okra. Pafford, I'm sure being down where you're at, you know all about okra. But Danny over at Cajun Hydroponics gave a tip. And I'm going to repeat the tip. I'm going to credit it back to Cajun Hydroponics. I don't know who he got it from. I think he got it from his grandfather is what I think he said. Take your okra seeds and put them in bleach for, I think it's only 5 or 6 minutes. That's what I did. I think I did 10 minutes. And then take them out of the bleach, rinse them. You have to rinse them. So rinse them well and then plant your okra. I tried planting okra without doing that, and I got what Jules Small Gardening calls helmet head, which is the okra came up and the seed coat was over the okra leaf and would not come off. I would try breaking them off with my fingers and I pull the cotyledons off. And of course, then they're dead. So I got very frustrated and I planted a second planting. I soaked those first, hoping that would help. Made no difference really. So then I did a third planting where I soaked, and I only did about 7 seeds. I soaked them in the bleach and then rinsed them, planted them in a seed tray, and those came up. The cotyledons opened up beautifully. I got 6 out of the 7. They're older okra seeds, so they're seeds that were saved. A friend of mine down in Alabama saved them for me. So Steve says it hit 70 today in Schaumburg. Yeah, there's a lot of reflection going on in Schaumburg, a lot of big buildings and blacktop. I don't think it got to 70 by me. With the wind, it's hard to say. It could have gotten up there. So yesterday we planted red cabbage, green cabbage, and kohlrabis. And so we planted about 75 kohlrabis. We've planted about 100 green cabbage and about 50 red cabbage. I can sell a lot of green cabbage, but the red cabbage doesn't, well, some years it doesn't even grow all that well. I'm not sure what it is about red cabbage, but yeah. Pafford Home is saying never had a problem with okra seed coming up, probably because of our heat. There's something else too. I did not have that problem when I planted okra straight in the ground, or at least I didn't notice it. When I planted the okra straight in the ground, it seemed that the cotyledons came up fine. Now, my okra only got that tall over the course of last year. So I don't know that we have enough heat to grow okra. I'm going to put it into pots in the hoop house and see if we can get that going. Vineyard Chicks, no, I'm in Illinois. I have relatives down in Alabama and Georgia area, but no, I'm in Illinois. But I will try to settle an argument. I just don't think I can do it because I'm not from there.
We have family out in Georgia.
Yeah, we've got relatives down. I've got a brother-in-law down there. He's probably could be watching. Yeah, Pafford Homestead. I read a lot about okra before I planted it because I didn't think I could plant it up here. And then I heard people saying, well, we planted up here. So I tried, and it won't germinate unless the ground's warm. First planting I did last year did not germinate at all. I was taking pictures of weeds, sending them down to my brother-in-law saying, is this okra? And he'd say, I don't think so. And then finally, Jules Small Gardening sent me some Clemson Spineless, and it did germinate. I got about 30 plants out of it, but it got 1.5 feet tall, and that was it. So John has retracted his comment. He saw me coming for him. No, not today. Hello, Will It Grow? Welcome to the live. So before we close this thing out, probably about 10 minutes or so, I want to give you a little bit of an update on my health for anyone who might be interested. I told you last week that my blood pressure went really high, and I was at the dentist, and they told me they couldn't do the procedure that they were going to do because of my blood pressure being high. So I went to the doctor, and my blood pressure came down quite a bit. But tonight, it's back up to 170. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that I was out working all day or not. But I figured you were Gail lurking there, John. I can tell when you're here. That's why I only say bad stuff when you're not here. Thank you, Pafford Holmes. I appreciate it. And all of you, I appreciate the prayers. I'm not real worried about it. I don't have any pain or anything like that. And we're on top of it. We're going to the doctor. I've changed my diet. Haven't had a cup of coffee in a week, or almost a week. I guess it's since Monday. So I guess it's not. Oh, no, it was last Monday, right? So, yeah, over a week. I haven't had a cup of coffee. So, yeah, 186 over 108. That's, you see it, but you're talking to people, you're getting it taken care of, right, John? When I went to the dentist, I was 200 over 110. And so, yes, Steve, I'm on blood pressure medication. I'm not eating any salt. And I went down into the well, actually, I don't want to take credit for what somebody else did. Mama Goose went down into the basement. She got a bunch of beets out of storage. She made me a big bowl of beets, and I've been eating beets on a fairly regular basis. I like them, but also it lowers your blood pressure, and I can tell I did eat beets today, so maybe it doesn't. I don't know. The other thing they say is potassium is important for you. So yeah, Steve, I went right to the doctor, and it was already, by the time I got to the doctor, it had come down a little bit for some reason. And he put me on blood pressure medication and told me to monitor my blood pressure. And he said it's going to take a while for it to come down. So hopefully we can get it down a little bit. Kind of rethinking a lot of the things that I'm doing. And,
I wasn't supposed to aggravate you.
yeah, Mama Goose is supposed to take it easy on me, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
I'm not supposed to aggravate you.
I'm trying to keep it down under 150 because then they'll fix my teeth, and I a little self-conscious about not the look of it. I don't really care about that so much, but when I talk, sometimes I sound a little different. I don't like that. Boy, we got John's being good. He's being good today. So I had a little bit of mechanical difficulty getting on today, but I'm going to put a little challenge. John just wrote down what medication he was put on. Yeah, that's not the one I'm on. But I can't pronounce the one I'm on either. So, and I've been taking an aspirin or baby aspirin every morning for 3 years now, but, and that's supposed to help with that. But, so I've got a little challenge for you. When I got on the live feed today, I was at 435 subscribers. And I know that John over at Will It Grow has wanted me to go on to StreamYard so I could bring people up onto StreamYard on the lives. And so when I hit 500, I'm going to...
You can't cut off anything else.
No, I'm going to put StreamYard. I'm going to download StreamYard so that I can bring a guest up. I don't think we'll have just open chat necessarily, but I'd like to bring some people on. We'll maybe do our some of the court cases might be live. I thought that might be fun. And in my next upcoming video release, I will be announcing 4 more Shed Wars jurors for the Bunky case. And I'm also going to start announcing some witnesses that I have that I'm going to bring forward to make our case. So, John, you know, we're friends and all that, and I'm doing my best to be thank you, John. I appreciate that. You know, don't let the Vineyard chicks know this, but maybe we'll drop this case if we get up to 700. No. We're not going to drop any cases. Oh, Gail's got a new logo. I'll have to look at that. I can't see it right now because the chat's real small on my screen. But the Vineyard chicks pointed it out. So juror number 3, Gail, is juror number 3. So I suppose if you're in the chat and you haven't hit the thumbs up, I'd ask you to do that. If you're not subscribed, I don't understand why you're not. There's a lot of fun things go on this channel. Sometimes we have cookies. No cookies for a while, though.
Hard-boiled eggs tonight.
Hard-boiled eggs tonight. Hard-boiled eggs, they do a body
Beef
good.
salad.
All right. I appreciate everybody coming by. I'm glad we all got this time to chat together. Thank you, Pafford Homestead, for reminding people, thumbs up. You all have a great week. Get something planted. Get out there. This, for us in Zone 5, it's a little bit early, but I'm going to be planting my all of my squashes because I'm confident that our weather's going to be, in 2 weeks, our weather's going to be where it needs to be. Won't be planting my Homestead Aquarius. Read his comment. I'm not going to read it out loud. It's a little early for me to be planting squash, but I'm going to do it anyway, see how it goes. I did plant zucchini yesterday. We planted zucchini and I planted patty pan squash. Every once in a while, I like to grow a little patty pan. It doesn't sell great, but it's delicious. So we also lost a little bit of potato leaf due to the frost, but I think the potatoes are going to be fine. I am all the way, Vineyard Chicks, I am all the way as far north as you can get and still be in Illinois. If you look on a map, we are 3 miles south of the Wisconsin border. And the nearest big town to us would be Woodstock. It's not really a big town. Rockford, and we're about an hour northwest of Chicago, about an hour and 45 minutes northwest of Chicago.
Tell
So-
her to look up Harvard. Harmelda the cow is our landmark.
Yeah, our landmark is Hermelda the cow. And normally at this time of year, I would be extremely busy putting our float together to drive in the Milk Days parade. But thanks to the pandemic and the way that the government is treating the pandemic, well, we're not having a parade. We might have it in the fall. That'd be better for me anyway. I spend a lot of time preparing for the parade. So yeah, we're Vineyard Chicks, we're zone 5B. And you're over in Michigan, so you must be pretty north in Michigan then if you're in 5B. Because I think a lot of Michigan is 6. Well, by the lake. I guess by the lake is 6. Okay. Well, that's it for me tonight. I'll be back next Thursday night. Remember also, Godfest over at Believe on the Cross starts May 30th through June the 7th, and I will be preaching June the 6th. So one last thing, will it grow? I do know that. I'm taking that into consideration, and you will have my finding by this weekend's video. Should have a video out Sunday afternoon, evening. Until then, I'm Chicken Johnny. In Mitzvah, I'll see you again. Eat your vegetables and take care of yourself. And don't get suspended. We'll see you next week.